Look how far we've come, all the things we've done. Did it all with love, beauty from the bottom up. All I want is you, you're my favorite view. But there's nothing more, girl, you make my heart beat.
Welcome back, guys, to the To Be Better podcast. Trying it out.
Ah, dang it, right. And I was just thinking, oh no, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? Bumble bitches. Just revert back to what I always do because of habit.
Want to try again?
I've put zero thought into a new catchphrase. I got home yesterday and I made homemade crushed tomatoes and chili and whatnot. I didn't recognize how long chili was going to take. But the kids and I also did a science experiment. We're growing crystals now. And that took some time. I didn't realize how overwhelmed I would become trying to do a science experiment with the children.
Well, I do think that we need to have some sort of more inviting thing. I don't care if you change the Bumble bitches or not. I just don't want the beginning of our thing to be about us.
Yeah.
I want it to be about our viewers because this is a show now.
It is a show now. I do like saying welcome back. But like Bumble bitches is funny. But I also feel like I've grown past that.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be saying the same thing in 15 years. Or do I? I don't know. Jerry Springer had his thing.
Did he?
Did he not?
I don't think so.
So it was just drama?
It was. I don't remember much of anything past the fights and people chanting Steve.
Oh, yeah. Which is crazy because he really didn't do anything.
He broke up the fights.
Kind of.
He
also egged that shit on. Yeah. Gosh, what an icon of the 90s and the early 2000s.
We could do, you know how we normally go, and we are back.
And we're back.
We could start doing, and welcome back.
We could. We could keep the same cadence.
It doesn't sound good.
No?
I don't like it. It feels welcome back.
I said it and I hate it.
Welcome on your back. I don't know.
Oh, like
it
a
sounds
dirty
sticky.
thing.
I don't like it.
Yeah. You made it filthy.
Hey, how'd you guys enjoy Peach's vlog last night?
My husband added in so many funny things.
I started like I had probably 25 or 30 downloads and started clipping them in. And I was like, I should probably ease up because I was going to do the Exorcist thing. I was going to do like a crazy road rage thing. I was going to do a Dutch oven fart. And I started realizing how much of your vlog was going to be my brain. And I was like, and then you started talking serious shit. And I was like, okay, I got to really stop.
Yeah.
I don't have a whole lot that I want to get into. I do want to just quickly say, for those of you who are new here, we do record this live in front of our Patreon community. All right, guys, as you know, there was a TikTok scare. We lost the app for a whole 12 hours and we have no idea what the future of the app looks like. And with that, we are very concerned about the loss of our following. We have amassed almost 3 million followers across that platform with all 4 of our accounts. And we are trying to push people to other social media platforms so that in the event that anything happens on one app, we have multiple other backup plans. If you want to make sure that you're not missing any content, we highly recommend that you check out our Patreon.
On Patreon, we have multiple tiers to choose from. Starting at $10, you begin to receive exclusive content. At $15 a month, you get access to our private Discord server where we've amassed an absolutely amazing community of supportive people. And beyond that, we have other tiers to check out, along with my 2 private women's group, if that's something you may be interested in.
Guys, on our $15 and higher tier, you have access to live recordings. We record all of our content 3, 4, sometimes 5 times a week, live in front of our Patreon audience, where they are able to chat with us while we're recording. They get to see all the flirting, the outtakes, the hot topic conversations that never actually make it on the podcast. And it's really worth that aspect in itself. We have an After Dark where we sit down usually once a week and have a glass of bourbon, or in Peach's case, a glass of wine and a bowl of cheese. And we have a whole lot of fun conversations, karaoke in the Discord. We finish the lyrics. We literally just hang out and you guys get to hang out with us. There is a host of other perks, including Zoom calls that are coming for the ultimate tier. So that if you guys are having problems, you can talk to us. It also gives you the heads up on private meet and greets, because when we travel, we try to meet up with people on our Discord on a regular basis. There's a whole slew of other perks that come through Patreon. I highly recommend that you check it out.
The best way to support what we are doing is to share the content. The second best way is to check out our Patreon. Thank you guys for being here.
All right. Zach said, welcome back, farm friends. How's your growth? He's been saying that a lot. He's really been wanting that to be seen because it's like his 5th or 6th time posting
it. I'm going to be honest. I don't know how I feel about saying friends because there's already a parasocial relationship going on.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to like egg that on.
We could do a playoff of the tribe thing.
Yeah.
Just to think about it.
Okay.
I think with our powers combined, we can become
The one.
Yeah.
I loved Captain Planet. Oh my goodness.
Congratulations to Chris for selling 500 books. It's actually 507 or 506. It was just 6 or 7 more this morning. I don't remember the exact number, but I was excited that it was over 500, which means I sold some overnight.
Husband woke me up last night. I passed out on the couch. I was reading, I think.
You had your Kindle in your hand still.
I got so comfy cozy and you were doing your thing. And I looked at the clock and I was like, ooh, it's 9 o'clock. It's bedtime. And my body just did the thing. And you woke me up and you were like, I hit 500. And I can't remember what I said, but I realized I whispered it because I was still sleeping.
You're like, that's awesome, babe. And I was like, let's go to bed. And you're like, okay.
I remember going, woo, to try to like bring the hype back, even though I was like asleep.
Yeah. So you guys, we are, salutations subscribers. You fucking healed yet?
I love it. We can't say fucking though.
Not that early. I think we got to go 30 seconds or a minute before we do that.
Right. So I think just saying, are you guys healed yet?
Yeah.
I like that. I mess with that.
We'll have to talk about it.
Okay.
So we are going to do more Friday content. We have 3 episodes left to record for March. 2 podcasts, and this will be the last Friday content for the month of March, which means we will be starting February 2 months ahead. All of February is done. All of March is done. We'll be recording in April.
Yes.
By next week. I love that.
I love that too. It feels good.
Because we have the meet and greet in February, the ayahuasca retreat in March, and then we have 2 weeks in Costa Rica in May. By the time we get to May, like I want to be done to like September.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Well, if we do 2 or 3 recordings every Monday and Wednesday, there's no reason we can't get that far ahead.
Okay.
And then on down days when we've got nothing going on, we can come in and bang out these articles.
Yeah.
These articles are fun.
They are fun. I enjoy these.
How do you guys feel about this? Since we can't get feedback from the public because these aren't public yet.
No.
Are you guys enjoying these article things? Give it a second because I know there's a delay.
Okay. So while it's giving it a second, I want to eat my food.
Okay.
I think we weren't going to go live so soon.
Yeah. Joey Pearson said, welcome into the dopest podcast on YouTube. Absolutely killing it, guys. Are y'all doing content on the retreat? No, we're not. So I would love to. I would fucking love to document our ayahuasca retreat, but they are not. I don't even want to ask them to do that because we are going to a legit tribal shaman ceremony. It's not just a bunch of fucking rich people doing drugs. There's going to be medicine people there and shamans in full garb. And because people are spending their hard-earned money to be there to do the retreat, I think it would be really inappropriate to stick cameras in people's faces. It's all very insightful. They do enjoy this. Awesome. We aren't the public. You're right. You're not the public. You guys are so much cooler than that. You're the tribe. What about afterwards, like the overall experience? Oh yeah, Patreon will absolutely be getting a recap. Well, while she's eating, the first article we'll be reading is actually from a doctor on Medium. I don't know what kind of doctor she is. She just has PhD after her name. Is that what it said? And this is called Unpacking Conflict Avoidance in Your Relationship. I figured this would be a really good... I want to find more helpful articles on this website and less nonsense. Reball said, my people pleaser mindset is struggling knowing I am going to be firing my therapist and finding a new one with the same company. Not going to lie, I hate it, but I'm sitting here for so long and it's not working. Sitting there. Oh, I'm not sitting there for so long and not working. Got it. I want to, man, I get that, Bree. I have so much shit going on right now. I reached out to Jay this morning and asked him if he wanted to maybe co-host Voice of the Broken with me. I'm not okay. I'm really okay. I'm fucking great right now. My life is dope as fuck, but I have so much going on that I'm not okay with that it's making me feel like I'm not okay. Does that make sense? Like I'm not unhappy. I'm not depressed. I don't have any type of like mental illness going on right now. Like I am good. I am just not, I don't feel good about certain things in my life. And I think until I change them, I'm not going to. So. This is a 9-minute read. The one that we read yesterday that took us 45 minutes was only a 5-minute read. So this might be the entire episode. But we do have another episode, like another article saved just in case this one goes quickly.
Yeah, but that article that we read yesterday was supposed to be 5 minutes long was wrong. So
yeah. Yes, it was.
Oh, I have to sneeze.
All right, let's get into this article, babe. This article, again, is called Unpacking Conflict Avoidance in Your Relationship.
All right. Oh my gosh. She's licking the microphone.
That's gross.
Before I get into this, did I mess up my lipstick while I ate? Hell yeah. The idea of never arguing with our partner is a fantasy most of us wish we could achieve. Yet, a hard truth is that we already know that any relationship that is without an occasional disagreement is unhealthy.
I agree.
I agree with that. Couples who claim they never argue are not communicating their needs and feelings on what really matters, hence why they never argue.
I disagree with that, though.
Why?
Because you and I have had arguments, right? We have absolutely had maybe 2. The difference is you and I know how to communicate with each other, and we know how to pause and take breaks and have. I'm really surprised she didn't jump off that bed when I said that.
Dude, that's my titty.
Lilo,
she's sleeping.
You're crossing some fucking boundaries right now, little dog.
Yeah, she's doing a little too much.
You better not be licking on that. Comedic, guys.
Right.
The idea of you and I having arguments now sounds like a really bad time.
Right.
We don't do that. We have hard conversations, absolutely, but they're from a place of understanding and a place of love, compassion, empathy, trying to grow, and it's not attacks. I think when things become an argument, it comes from people not feeling validated, complete misunderstandings, and somebody not being cognitive enough to say, can you repeat that? Because what I heard is this.
Right.
I don't like the way that made me feel. They don't probe, and they attack each other.
Take it personally.
Right. Sometimes you are going to have an argument. There's nothing you can do about that. I just don't think that it needs to be an argument. I think that 95% of conversations can be had without it getting to that point.
Right.
I do think that there are going to be those times that there's going to be hurt and you can't do anything about that.
Right.
But I don't know. We've never said that we never argue. We've had disruptions and we've made it very clear that that's the case. We still have them from time to time, but it's few and far between.
Right.
Because we understand each other. And this is about the relationship and not about self. And I think that when you remove that selfishness and you prioritize the relationship, everything else kind of just
falls into place.
Yeah.
I want to add on to that becoming elevated also doesn't equate to an argument.
No.
Right. You can have your emotions and your feelings, and there are times in conversations I've gotten really good at being like, I just interrupted you. I'm so sorry. Or I just raised my voice and I didn't realize I was getting loud. And all of that is still things that I'm working on with trauma responses and triggers. So in a conversation, if we are having a hard conversation and I'm hearing things that are hurting my feelings, or I feel like I've been slacking in life or our relationship, that's definitely going to trigger something in me. We have this whole podcast talking about abandonment issues and things that I struggle with and feeling like I'm always the problem, whatever. But those things need to be communicated. If you start raising your voice in a conversation and your person is like, whoa, why are you yelling at me? And you go, I'm just mad right now. That's really not the case. And that's when I think it transitions from being a elevated emotional conversation or disruption and turns into that argument when things start getting shut down and shoved and blame is being placed and all those kinds of things. Does that make sense?
It does. I gotta be honest. I think a lot of that shit's a choice.
What do you mean?
Well, without reiterating too much of past podcast episodes, we know that people want to yell and use their anger as a reason to do it. They want to be heard. They want their person to hurt the way that they hurt. And I think that's a choice. I think that I don't want you to hurt. Right. And I'm not a vindictive person, right? So even if you really fucking hurt me and like I'm upset and need to cry about the shit, once I get that little cry out of my system, I'm not coming in here and flipping tables and making our life hell. I'm gonna tell you that really hurt me. Like I want to have a conversation about what I went through so that you know that I don't want to do that again. We need to find a common ground. Now, if I came to you and was like, that thing that you did earlier, whatever it was, whether you said it or an action or whatever, really hurt me. And like, I'm having a really hard time mentally right now because of it. And you're like, well, you're a pussy.
Right.
It's a whole different conversation. And that comes from the want of us to be better versus suck it the fuck up. I think that, again, that comes down to just basic understanding and validation.
Right.
And when you listen to understand and you actively listen and probe, it changes the direction of the conversations. And it certainly gives you a better outcome.
Yeah.
And if that wasn't the case, people who are doing the check-ins that are saving their marriages wouldn't be saving their marriages. They're learning new communication tools.
Right. Continuing on.
Yep.
If a couple suggests there are never any arguments between them, they are either living in denial about the gravity of superficiality that encompasses their relationship, or they have already passed the point of no return and are living in resentment and contempt where any chance of a deep conversation is moot.
I agree with that, but I still think that there's a third point, and that was everything we just laid out.
Yeah. I like that word moot.
Yeah.
I like how it sounds. It sounds damp. Right? Like cold water is spiky while warm water tastes soft.
So then what is carbonated water?
Yeah. Like Rice Krispie treats, but in liquid form. Snap, crackle, pop, bitch.
You're not autistic at all, babe. Not even a little.
Or Pop Rocks. It could be like Pop Rocks, but liquid form. Yeah.
Spicy water.
Why is it spicy? All right, continuing on. Couples argue. Yes, even in healthy relationships, you will see couples reaching an impasse on some things. However, what separates unhealthy couples from healthy ones is, ironically or not, the consistency and quality of how intimately they communicate with each other, especially during times of conflict. Healthy couples are solution-focused. They fight fair and use the us against the problem mindset instead of us against each other.
Feels good to hear the validation coming from a fucking a licensed doctor, right?
A PhD.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Not me over here with my autodidact ass learning it on YouTube.
Yeah.
To suggest that a couple will never argue is unrealistic and a sign of hopeless romanticism. There will be inevitable disagreements about finances, spending patterns, exercise routines, hobbies, how much time to spend with friends, in-laws, and when or whether to have children. After all, these types of conversations are rooted in potential differences of opinion and emotional and financial needs, all of which can trigger stressors within a relationship and flip the dynamics considerably.
Did you see how she used the term disagreements instead of arguments, though? There will be inevitable disagreements about all of these things. They don't have to become arguments. You can debate it. Mm-hmm. You can have a conversation. Argument, to me, that the word itself has such a negative tone. I want to Google the actual definition. Let's learn some shit today.
So far down the list.
An exchange of diverging or opposite views, typically a heated or angry one. So that's where the ugliness comes in for me. A reason or set of reasons given within the aim of persuading others that an action or an idea is right or wrong. So that one is not ugly, but that speaks to manipulation because you're trying to change somebody's mind.
Right. I also don't believe in right or wrong.
Gray.
Right. Like I don't believe in good or bad. I'm trying my best to teach the children that everything's not so black and white.
There's more than four corners to a table.
Yeah. Yes. And that second one that you just read, that wasn't as aggressive because it didn't have heated or whatever.
Yeah.
Or an angry
heated or
one.
Angry, right.
A reason or set of reasons given with the aim of persuading others that an action or idea is right or wrong. I still view that as a negative thing because they're trying to control the narrative that's happening. That right or wrong, black or white is what's got me hung up on that second explanation.
Okay, so then how would you word that to make it not? Because right or wrong obviously is not the thing. If you're feeling the way that you're feeling, you have a right to feel that way.
Right.
So in the event that it's not right or wrong, should it be
I also view that as debating, though.
This is stupid. To debate means to argue about a subject, especially in a formal manner, or to consider the possible course of action in one's mind before reaching a decision.
Quarrel. I love that word. Squabble. I'm going to start hitting the kids with that. Quit it with the squabble.
All right, let's get back to it because I'm going to go down a whole ass rabbit hole of fucking vernacular right now.
Okay.
Starting to obsess.
Conflict is a natural part of any relationship, including romantic relationships. The more emotionally close we are to someone, the greater the risk of a conflict occurring. However, for some, the fear of conflict in a romantic relationship can be immobilizing and create a sense of dread, panic, and shutting down. Early experiences of neglect, abuse, inconsistent caregiving, patterns of emotionally smothering to ignoring, or abandonment can shape how we express our needs within our romantic relationship.
Inconsistent caregiving actually covers all of that.
Yes. For many of us who experienced harsh or punitive parenting or who received inconsistent validation or support from their caregiver, we can find ourselves dodging difficult conversations that may be experienced as too emotionally vulnerable, or even avoiding intimate relationships altogether as too much of a risk of confrontation.
Wow, could you imagine being so afraid of having a confrontation that you just decide to not experience love? Like I'm not
like
gonna,
broken me, yeah.
I'm just never gonna get married. I don't want to try anymore. It's not worth it. I don't want to have to argue with somebody in the future. It's insane.
Yeah.
That's fucking insane to me.
The origins of conflict avoidance. As with most things in our life, we can probably trace the origins of most, if not all, of our emotional and psychological wounding back to our childhood. I am not suggesting that our parents are the root of all of our issues. However, early environmental conditions play an integral role in how our attachment system develops, in what we believe to be true about ourselves, and with what motivates us to act in certain ways within our relationships.
Do you think it's fair to blame the parents? Like, let's say you're 30 years old.
Right.
Do you think it's fair to blame your parents for the life that you're living?
No. No, because at 30 years old, you're a grown adult. And living in the technology age, you have so much access to information and help, and a lot of it is free. It's just an excuse at that point. Now, if somebody told me, hey, I'm sorry I reacted like this. When I was younger, I was put through this kind of thing, and this is something I'm still trying to work on. I don't even view that as blaming the parents. That's
accountability.
Something shitty happened to me, and I'm trying not to let it run my life anymore.
Right. Now, I think the area, because I do believe that, somebody constantly bringing up their childhood like that is manipulation.
Yes.
Because it allows them to
excuse.
Yeah, but they're justifying their behavior based off of the actions of another person and not off of their inaction of their own life.
Okay.
Because if you know that you have these triggers and you continuously go to them and these are the things and somebody did this and that's why I act this way, you know that you have something to work on. You making the choice to not act on making yourself better means that you don't get to use that anymore. First or second time, I understand, you're still working on it. If it's a third, fourth, or fifth time, or this has been going on for 2 years, that I don't want to hear that anymore.
Yeah.
At all. Not even a little bit. Like at this point, you're choosing to live in your own misery. You are actively making a decision every single time you blow up.
Yeah. I am somebody, you said something, and this is the thought that came to my mind. I am somebody who I'm okay with pointing things out as long as I can tell the actions are behind working on it. So if I have a friend who takes shit super personally and blows up on me because I said something that she perceived as an attack on her when I was just saying a sentence, I would address that and be like, I don't know what that was. In order for this friendship to continue, though, like I'm not looking to handhold on that kind of thing. Like if I have to walk on eggshells around you as a friend, I'm going to find a new friend.
As somebody with borderline who's read Stop Walking on Eggshells, how would you handle that? Because you saying that, like if you were to say that to me,
right,
I would lose my shit.
Yeah, well, that's not exactly how I would say that.
No, but that's a fair ass statement.
Yeah.
Like in 100% honest conversation, that's a fair fucking assessment of what's happening.
Yeah.
You are not responsible for somebody else's shit. But knowing that walking on eggshells, that term itself has been attached to borderline partners, I mean, that kind of sucks.
No, I get that. I never want to hear that sentence.
Right.
But if that's how it feels every time it happens, I'm gonna say it.
Right.
And I will be that friend I will be that family member. I will be that partner to give gentle reminders of, hey, you're doing the thing. When there's actual action behind it being shown. Like if the first time it happens is at 100% full blast, and then the second time it happens it's at like 85%, and then the third time it happens we're at 60%.
Yeah, it's growth.
It's growth. And I can't remember where I was going with that because I got sidetracked by the book. Stop walking on eggshells.
We're just holding people accountable for their actions.
Yeah.
Is what we were talking about, which is fair. And this just goes to speak that criticism without love is cruelty. So like in the event that somebody is going through mental issues and you are just fucking unloading on them and there's no love behind it, you're you're doing it to be hurtful.
Yeah.
And if you really care about somebody, giving them those criticisms, if they understand that you care about them, should be taken differently than a fuck you.
Right.
So
continuing on.
Yeah.
For example, we are not born with a fear of abandonment or rejection. We are hardwired to connect with others from a place of authenticity and vulnerability without feeling the constraints of living in survival mode. Yet, if we experience narcissistic caregivers who were rejecting or abusive, or who conditionally loved us based on us jumping through hoops to please them, this can plant a seed that in order to have approval or to be loved, we need to toss out our needs and focus on pleasing others. That is a very real fear for me when it comes to the children.
What do you mean?
I never want to hit them with anything negative from that paragraph. I don't want them to feel rejected by me as a parent, or that my love is conditional based on their good behavior.
Well, okay, so this is I did the best I could conversation.
Yeah.
Because there are things like, and this just happened yesterday with me. So this is a me example. I got home last night after being here editing, and I came in carrying everything that I could carry. Still had to do shit outside. Had to like check the mail. I had a whole lot of shit that I had to do when I walked in the house. And the moment I walked in, little man was like, "Pops, look at this." He was so fucking excited that he was running from the Yeti in the Sackboy game.
Yeah.
Big Little Planet or whatever it's called. And like, he wanted me to stop and then take in what he was doing. And I was like, "But I'm busy right now. Just give me a few minutes and I'll get back." And by the time I got back, he had beat the level.
Yeah.
And he was standing on the platform. He's like, "Did you see it? Did you see I won?" I was like, "Yeah, bro, I see you on the platform. You did the thing." I wasn't able to give him my undivided attention in that moment. Now, does that mean that I was too wrapped up in what I had going on to give him the attention that he needed in the moment? Or was I trying to get my day done so that I can actually spend time with the family? And so this is a perspective thing.
Yeah.
And from 6-year-old perspective, if I just walked out the door and didn't say shit to him, I could see how that would feel like I didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I also remember what it was like playing the 1986 or 85 Nintendo Entertainment System with the Mario Brothers game and trying to show my parents how I had beat the game. And they didn't give a fuck about any of it. Like they didn't understand how much work went into me to like be able to learn the timing and hand-eye coordination and all of that until they tried to sit down and play it one time and realize how fucking hard it was for them to try for the first time.
Yeah.
He's learning how to play video games, and because I play that game and he sees how good I am at it, he wants to show me that he's worthy. Like, "Pops, I'm doing the thing. I'm just like you are." You know what I mean? And he's doing it on a much smaller scale, but he still sees those victories. And if I don't take the time to acknowledge those victories, he may take that as Pops was too busy working on his truck.
Yeah.
Pops was too busy checking the mail or putting an air freshener in his car. He was too busy playing with the dog or on his computer. Like, I don't want that to be a thing. So to tie into all of that, there's got to be a way to give yourself grace, knowing that you are actually doing the best that you can without neglecting your actually neglecting your kids.
Yeah.
Like, they could do the same thing about cooking dinner. They don't understand that when you make something like this, a whole ass process.
Yeah.
You made your own ketchup the other night.
Yeah.
Homemade ranch. Like, you're doing the thing when you cook.
Yeah.
And it takes you an hour and a half, 2 hours sometime to cook dinner. They don't get that. They're hungry right now. Why is mom still in the kitchen? Why isn't she out here watching us kick this video game's ass?
Yeah.
So there's little things that come in now. As they get older, that'll change if they start to understand. But I don't remember why I got all down that road. So I'm going to just stop my tangent.
Okay. Well, I also want to tack on, because that just triggered a thought in me yesterday. I was in the kitchen. I was doing something. I was prepping dinner, or I was looking for like one of my KitchenAid mixer attachments, and they were in the living room doing the thing. And I just hear our son like hooping and hollering. And he was like, Mom, I beat the Yeti. I did the thing. And like, I took a second and it was just a house full of screaming. Everybody was super stoked that the level got beat. He did it. He was doing it like he tried 4 or 5 times to get past the Yeti and he finally made it. And like that does feel like I did a good thing, because even though he wanted me in the living room at that moment to see what happened, there was still a celebration of.
Right, you were happy for him.
Right. Like I wasn't, guys, quiet down. We're in the house, inside voices. So
there's also something to be said about the video game process.
mm-hmm.
I believe that video games will teach young kids how to problem solve.
Yeah.
Especially if they go to somebody else and goes, I can't do this for me. And the adult's like, no, figure it out.
Right.
Have you seen the reel or TikTok or whatever? I think it was a reel of a dude stepping over a bunch of tape with his little kid behind him. And the kid's like, Dad, help.
Oh, yeah, I've
and he
seen
just
that.
walks off and the kid has to figure out how to get through the tape to get to Dad.
Yeah.
That's problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
If we were like, your dinner's in the kitchen, make your own plate. And they're like, I don't know how to do that. And we're like, well, figure it out or don't eat. They're going to figure that shit out.
Right.
And you are creating those small wins. You're creating confidence in the child, and it's removing the helicopter parenting aspect from things. Last night when you were like, go put a glove on, get the thing out of the air fryer, and you started doing that, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And I was waiting. I was waiting to hear that pan hit the floor and crying to start.
Or he burned himself.
Because I was expecting him to go in there and do exactly the opposite of what you said. Mm-hmm. And then I heard the thing dragging across the floor. I'm like, okay, there's a stool.
Yeah.
And then I hit a metal tray hit. And I was like, okay, that made it to the counter. And then he comes out with his fries. And like there was.
Yeah. He was like, I didn't even need the mitt.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Which means that he took a moment. He knew it could have been hot because I told him he needed an oven mitt. But he took that, he an educated guess and was like, I'm going to touch it and see how this feels.
Yep.
And he was fine.
Yeah. Well, and we all do that.
Yeah.
You'll do that even as an adult. Like
if I don't need the oven mitt, I'm not putting it on.
Right. Well, I have touched burners.
Yeah.
Is it still hot? Yep. It's still hot.
So I can't put anything up there yet. This can't be a shelf for me.
Not ready to be washed.
Yeah.
And I've burned myself doing this shit. Mm-hmm. But I'd rather know that than burn the bottom of a piece of Tupperware or a cardboard box catch on fire because I just got home from bringing shit back from post office or whatever.
Or me mindlessly putting a plastic utensil on top of it.
Yeah.
I have melted spatulas before.
Jenna said, yep, Zelda Breath of the Wild was huge for our son. So many puzzles, and it's all open world, which forces him to think and navigate. Zelda was huge for me. Yeah. From the original Zelda, the golden cartridge original Zelda, then the Adventures of Link. I played all the way up until whatever came out after the 64. I was a huge Zelda kid. That was the first game that you were able to save your games because there was so much involved in them. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I love that.
All right, let's get back to the...
All right, continuing. This conditioning can continue replaying in various forms in our friendships and romantic relationships. We may have a history of choosing self-absorbed and phony friends who only come around when it benefits them. Or we may have a pattern of choosing toxic partners who only stick around as long as we are catering to their whims. And, because of our earliest experiences, we may feel too threatened or find it too overwhelming to express our needs or to stand up for ourselves. Instead, we may grow resentful of these types of relationships while feeling like we have no way to fix things. If this sounds like a pattern seen in people-pleasing, you are correct. However, it should be noted that being conditioned to become a people-pleaser is not the same thing as being conditioned to fear and avoid conflict in our relationships. People-pleasing is a learned and conditioned trauma response where we may learn to prioritize the needs and expectations of others before ourselves, in order to receive conditional validation based on being compliant or agreeable, or to try and avoid harsh punishment.
Pause. This is what we've talked about. We've talked about this in depth. As long as you're okay as my abuser, I'm good. So I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that you have your needs met. Oh, you're an alcoholic and you need a drink. I'll get it. I'll get it. Don't worry about making dinner tonight, Mom. I know that you've had a lot to drink. I got this. Oh, I'm 13 years old and you're at the bar with no vehicle and I have to come get you. Can I drive the other vehicle? Don't worry, Mom. I will drive illegally at 13 years old to come get you from the bar to get you back to the house. This is how all of that shit starts. And when those behavior patterns work and they realize that like I'm no longer being punched in the face and the alcoholism's no longer really that big of a threat because I'm making myself scarce and I'm only there when I'm doing the fucking thing it'll start to translate into every relationship they have because this is working for me. I'm safe and I'm not being, things are okay. And I truly believe that that's where that comes from.
Yeah, I agree with that. This pattern of behavior is often traced back to our childhood where we learn that pleasing and appeasing equals conditional approval. By learning how to nod along to everything or by neglecting our own emotional and psychological needs, we are momentarily avoiding rejection or punishment. The more this pattern plays out, the more ingrained it becomes as a form of escaping our own fears of being seen as not good enough. Hey guys, little quick interruption. If you're enjoying the content, please leave a like. And also don't forget to comment. We enjoy interacting with you guys and hearing your opinions, and it helps the algorithm.
It's also free to do. And if you really want to help make sure the show continues to do, hit the subscribe button and share the content across your social medias. It costs you nothing and it greatly helps the show.
Contrarily, avoidance and fear of conflict within our relationships is aligned with avoiding emotional discomfort, emotional overwhelm, or minimizing conflict at the expense of our own psychological health. With conflict avoidance, we are not concerned with pleasing others or gaining their approval. We are only wanting to avoid experiencing negative emotions or situations that can spark negative reactions in others.
Would you say that disassociation and the conflict avoidant person is the same thing? Like I'll mentally check out. If people are being too much and I can't do anything about it, I will shut my fucking brain off. Is that the same thing? Can it be the same thing? Is this something we need to research?
Well, it says that the conflict avoidance is based on not wanting to experience negative emotions or situations.
Right, but if you can shut your brain off,
right,
and you can literally not feel or hear any of it, isn't that technically doing that?
That's disassociation, but I think that the reason you're doing it matters. If you're not disassociating because you're scared of feeling a negative emotion because of the people around you, or you're trying to avoid a situation that can negatively impact others, I think that's just disassociation because you don't want to be there.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yes.
Okay. Continuing on. We may internalize a negative situation as being our fault while shutting down, or we may notice a pattern of over-apologizing even if we are not at fault, in order to avoid potential escalation or conflict. Ooh, I do that.
You actually do that.
I do that.
Yeah, unnecessary apologizing.
Yeah. Or the profuse apologizing. Conflict avoidance typically leads to poor communication, unresolved issues with romantic relationships that fester and create tension, and high levels of emotional disconnection. In extreme cases, some may engage in toxic positivity as a way of escaping and avoiding difficult conversations while downplaying each person's lived emotional experiences. Conflict avoidance is a learned behavior, often originating from abusive and invalidating early childhood experiences. 4 of the most common experiences that can shape a pattern of conflict avoidance are included here. Fear of feeling aggressive or abusive. If we grew up in an unpredictable, violent, or chaotic environment where there was not stability or consistency with caregivers, siblings, or others from day to day, this type of chaos will feel normal to us. We may have learned to go silent or to disappear within our room in order to avoid more conflict or abuse. Yep. That was a big thing. Yeah, I would hear the car pull into the driveway, turn off the living room TV like I was never out there, clean up my shit, and go straight to my bedroom.
I didn't experience it to that degree.
Yeah.
But I have a similar situation that was, I got to have the living room and my bedroom because of where they were laid out, and my mom stayed in the kitchen because that's where the telephone was with her business.
Yeah.
And they had a TV in the kitchen. So she just sat at the kitchen table all the time. But she was also home all the time. My thing was hearing the way that she was talking to people in the kitchen, hearing the tone and knowing whether or not I needed to make myself scarce or if I should leave. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I would do that too. Pay attention to tone and attitude, and experiencing parents, caregivers, or siblings who frequently become emotionally volatile or violent can condition us to fear any type of emotional intensity within ourselves out of fear that expressing our anger will be seen as equally toxic. As a result, we may have a history of shutting down any type of vulnerable emotional expression, difficult conversations, or leaving important issues hanging and unresolved. One of the most common patterns seen here is living distracted, where a person may completely disconnect from vulnerable emotions by engaging in self-numbing behaviors. For example, it is very common to see a person spending their free time aimlessly binging Netflix, endlessly scrolling social media, or mindlessly playing video games.
Escapism.
Yeah. These are common ways that a person who is conflict avoidant may slip into a dissociative state and self-numb. However, because any issues within the relationship are not being discussed or resolved, it typically leads to resentment, contempt, and emotional distance building between partners.
This is a very common topic in emails.
Oh yeah, this is a very common topic in group calls and shit.
There but not present.
Yeah.
All he does is play on his phone. All she does is scroll TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all she does is talk on the phone with her mom. All of that shit. Like that's exactly what that is. I while you were reading that, I had a thought. You know that we, when people are going on a binge, it normally means like a drug binge or an alcohol binge where they're going to go and not be seen for a week.
Mm-hmm.
Binging Netflix, endlessly scrolling social media, or mindlessly playing video games is a sign of an unhealthy brain that there's something really going on. But we have used the I'm going to binge Netflix as like a positive thing, as just normal conversation. And I think that that's one of those words that doesn't need to be normalized as like a healthy thing.
Yeah.
We binge watch TV shows all the time.
We do.
But that's because we have a free day to actually do it versus watching TV every single day. And I really look forward to those days.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't see them as a mental illness or an unhealthy thing, but I absolutely do unplug from the world in that moment. And by definition, what she just said, I am disassociative. I am in a disassociative state. My phone is not important. The podcast is not important. Fucking kids aren't going to be here this weekend. They're at their dad's. Like, I can mentally check out and just be a blob. I think to a degree that can be a healthy thing.
Yeah.
And I think for some that could be self-care. You live in a constantly stressed out, agitated state all the time. That day to decompresses. You need that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fear of perpetuating toxic patterns. Being raised in an emotionally unstable and unpredictable environment means we're also feeling unsafe as normal. We likely learned how to quickly shut off feeling unsafe by trying to emotionally disconnect from the situation, even if it meant becoming disassociative as the safer option. Thus, we learn to pair feeling vulnerable with a feeling of danger. These kinds of volatile or violent environments also condition a child to wrongly believe that all conflict will inevitably lead to more chaos reoccurring, which we carry into our adult lives.
Before you move on, it's very impressive that you can read while I scroll.
Yeah? Oh, thank you.
Because you have no idea I'm doing it. You don't even miss a beat. No one would ever fucking know that like I'm scrolling while you're reading.
Yeah.
I'm like your human teleprompter with a pulse and a ding dong.
Wow.
I just wanted to throw that in there to say thing about my.
That did it.
Yeah, I know.
It made us hungry.
Feed me, Seymour.
All right, continuing on. Fast forward into our romantic relationships, and we often have a firmly established pattern of being unable to ask for what we need out of fear that expressing our needs or feelings will lead to another unpredictable situation where we, again, feel unsafe. Over time, constantly stuffing our emotions and needs can actually reinforce feeling unsafe due to a buildup of unresolved tension. Anyone who feels that they have to live in toxic positivity or cannot fully and safely express their feelings without retribution is creating an environment ripe for resentment and contempt between partners. Next one is hyper-independence.
I'm guilty of this one.
Yeah.
I know I'm guilty of this one. I will hurt myself trying to move shit before I ask for help.
100%, yeah. Anyone raised in an emotionally invalidating and neglectful environment can attest to becoming hyper-independent due to experiencing emotional neglect. We may have been harshly scolded, physically abused, or shamed for expressing any emotion that was not approved by a caregiver. Oh, man. The article's messing me up a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm realizing some things about myself. As a result, we learn to remain stoic around our parents while providing ourselves comfort, emotional support, or validation in private. So we may have grown up believing we were a burden to others if we were to talk about our feelings and learn to shut down our needs as unimportant. Well, that makes sense as to why it's hard for me to share things with people who can be friends.
Right. I think hyper independence is more common in men than it is in women.
Yeah.
because of the whole quit fucking crying, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Nobody wants to hear this shit. Like, I do believe that that's where that comes from in most men. That's the more accepted of the four so far that we've read.
Okay. As a result, I read that. So we may have grown up believing we are a burden to others if we were to talk about our feelings and learn to shut down our needs as unimportant. This sense of hyper-independence is counterintuitive to anything necessary for a healthy and emotionally connected relationship with our partner. Yet...
Oh, hold on.
Okay.
I can't. I would be remiss to not say that that's also prevalent in women. But the issue that I see, so here's where the two line up, right? In men, it becomes he's not willing to express his emotions. He won't be vulnerable, whatever that narrative currently is, because we hear that all the time. In women, it becomes I don't have a community. I can't call my mom and ask her to watch the kid. I don't have somebody that I can vent to in the moment because nobody cares to hear it. That hyper independence is generational trauma that will continue to get handed down, especially if you don't realize what's going on and you raise your children the same way that you were raised because that's how you were parented. That's how it's done. You're fine, right? Yeah. Yeah. I would be remiss if I didn't throw that in there. So I'm good. I'm going to scroll though so that we're starting at the top.
Okay. Yet, if we experience this type of early environment that shunned or shamed our need for emotional support, it tends to generalize to our romantic relationships. For example, we may not speak up if we are feeling misunderstood or unsupported by our partner. We may choose to handle things on our own rather than to turn to them out of fear of being seen as emotionally dependent. And we may choose to have our relationship remain intimacy light, with superficial chit-chat replacing deep conversation and hobbies replacing physical and emotional intimacy.
Roommate face.
Yeah.
We may not speak up if we are feeling misunderstood or unsupported by our partner is why people, and this is the number one killer of relationships.
Yeah.
If we, and this is training your person. If you and I have had conversations and I know nothing's going to change, what's the point in bringing it up? Or if you know that you need to tell me something and I'm just going to get defensive. And every time you bring something to me, I'm defensive. You're not going to feel safe talking to me anymore. What's the point?
Right.
Nothing's going to change. Then there's two reasons why people, like there's two options. You either stay because you believe at some point you will find love with your person again, or you actually leave because you realize that there's no coming back from this. Your person doesn't give a fuck about you. And like, there's no middle ground there. You're either going to live a really shitty existence with a whole lot of hopium, or your relationship's just going to end right then and there. Communication is a necessity. Like you can't just let that shit ride.
That.
Right.
Yeah. Next one is confusion around conflict as loss of love. When we grow up in an abusive environment, we learn things backwards. We experience a combination of intermittent affection and attention, followed by mistreatment, abuse, or invalidation. This pattern is what is taught as normal regarding love, which influences how we choose a partner, or what types of toxic patterns with our partner resonate with us as familiar. This dynamic also creates confusion where we have learned to pair love with pain. In our romantic relationships, we may have an established pattern of shutting down anytime our partner brings up an issue or wants to have a conversation about something, or changing the subject to something that allows for conflict avoidance. Because of early toxic conditioning, many wrongly learn to pair a disagreement or conflict with incompatibility, meaning that if you have any kind of disagreement with your partner, it automatically means a lack of compatibility and that the relationship is doomed.
And there's the abandonment.
Yeah, that was a big one for me.
It's a big one for anyone with borderline.
I remember our first spat. I'm not even going to call it an argument, but I looked at you and I was like, why are we even together then?
Right. I remember that.
And like you stopped everything. Your tone changed, the way that you were talking to me changed, and you're like, don't ever say that again. That's still kind of a hard thing for me to keep back. The biting dog that wants to hurt someone before they hurt me.
I view that the same as putting divorce on the table, which is why I got so very stern about that in the moment. I don't want there to be any question. Like, this is it. Romeo and Juliet, Bonnie and Clyde. I don't care how it goes. We're going together. Like, this is it for me. So the idea of divorce or, well, why are you with me then? None of those conversations are happening. You took my last name. You said I do. This is it.
Yeah.
So, but I think that comes from a past life where divorce was a funny joke to throw in somebody's face because there was no real, I am staying forever. Like, I'm going to kill myself one day anyway. So who gives a shit? You know, but there's a different life being lived now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The reality is that when we learn conflict avoidance as the answer in our relationship, it is because we have learned to avoid momentary short-term discomfort that often ends in long-term pain. Avoiding conflict at all costs is often a deeply conditioned trauma response that is learned from highly narcissistic and abusive childhood environments. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. I'm fucked up.
I'm in danger.
What is taught in these early dysfunctional dynamics is that any type of conflict is really about emotional harm, unpredictability, and fear. These wounds are what get carried with us into our romantic relationships where we feel we have to ignore and deny parts of ourselves in order to keep the peace in the relationship.
This is a really well-written article.
It is.
It was a good find this morning.
Yeah, I can tell that she went to college.
Yeah.
We wrongly believe that any type of conflict or difference in opinion between ourselves and our partner will inevitably lead to a loss of love or the loss of relationship. Yet the irony is that we end up choosing relationships that reinforce the wound by selecting partners that maintain superficiality within the relationship. If they are shallow or self-absorbed or fail to challenge us out of our comfort zone, we feel we momentarily dodged a bullet by not having to show up for ourselves, our needs, or the relationship. However, in time, and often as a result of introspection and a lot of therapy, we realize these kinds of shallow relationships don't offer anything but a perpetuation of everything we want to separate ourselves from.
That the irony is that we end up choosing relationships that reinforce the wound by selecting partners that maintain superficiality within the relationship. If they are shallow and self-absorbed or fail to challenge us out of our comfort zone, we feel we momentarily dodged a bullet. That is, I don't have to get out of my comfort zone. This is what I know. Mm-hmm. This will be okay for a little while. I know it's going to end one day, but I'll ride the wave of this high for the next year or two until it gets ugly. And then I'm just going to step out and do it again. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what that is. Maybe this time will end up different, but this is comfort. I know this. Yeah. This is the devil I know. Last paragraph.
Through growth and self-reflection, what we realize is that superficial relationships are not protecting us from our core wounds. By facing our fears and by learning how to navigate our needs, we learn that conflict is a natural part of all relationships. And when the relationship is healthy and genuine, expressing our needs will not lead to being abandoned by our partner, chaos within the relationship, or a loss of love. It will actually create the chance for deeper intimacy and love.
That was a really, really well written article.
Yes, it was.
I went a whole lot further than I thought it was going to. I really just thought it was going to be about why it's healthy to have disagreements and how to work through them.
Right.
It definitely went a whole lot different than I expected it to. Well, that was an hour.
Okay.
So we can wrap up. We have to go live on YouTube in 22 minutes.
Okay.
So we can take a 20-minute break and then go live on YouTube, go for an hour and a half, and then pop back in and do episode 12.
12.
Guys, thanks for fucking tuning in. I know we didn't interact with the chat very much, but you guys are here and we appreciate it. And we will see you guys in about 20 minutes on YouTube.
Have you been fuzzy this whole time?
I don't know. Maybe. Hit the button. Let's see if it corrects. It might be. Focusing on the microphone?
I think it is.
On the mic.
Well,
maybe I need to move it down a little bit. Good catch though, babe. Damn good catch. How's that?
That's better.
All right, good catch.
Thank you.
With that being said, guys, remember you are the authors of your own life.
So grab a pen.
And we will see you on the next one.
Bye, guys.